fellow bookworms to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and we just finished reading Secrets of the Lost Summer by Carla Neggers. I enjoyed this book so much. This is definitely one I'm going to be keeping on my shelf, and I'm going to be rereading it. But before I get into my thoughts on this, just a reminder, today we are going to be starting The Four Summoner's Tale, which has 4 different stories, one by Kelly Armstrong, Christopher Golden, David Liss, and Jonathan Mawberry. So if you want to participate in this read, there are definitely links in the description below where you can pick up a copy. And of course, you can find my thoughts on this one next Wednesday. So really excited for that one. And then next Wednesday, we are going to be reading Gail Wilson, Boogeyman. You can find the synopsis and everything in Monday's video. This is Barley. Well, his name is Marley, but I call him Barley all the time. He came with his name. I'm surprised he's up here. And the other dogs are milling about, so if the camera shakes or anything like that, they're kind of under the table and everything like that. So, but yeah, this is Marley. He's my scaredy cat dog. He's the only boy dog I have. We do have 2 boy cats, but other than that, he's alone with his girls. So he's shedding like crazy right now. Huh. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. But anyway, I did the synopsis in Monday's video. I always announce the next weekly read in Monday's video, give you guys an idea of what we're reading, and that way you can get a chance to grab a physical copy if you need one like me and you want to participate. If not, always check your local library for some of these books. Check Kindle and audio options if that's something you don't mind doing. I always have to have a physical copy, but like I said, libraries are a good option. A lot of these books are older. Library might not have them, but it's something to consider. But yeah, let's go ahead and get back into Secrets of the Lost Summer. So this book, basically, you have Olivia, who kind of works in Boston. She's a graphic designer, and she was originally planning, she bought like a historic house, and she was originally planning to renovate it and kind of start her own business there. But events in Boston leads her to go there a lot sooner than she had planned, and she's trying to get her business up and running. Obviously finances are an issue, and so she's worried about the house up the street where an old woman used to live named Grace Webster, who is also friends with Olivia's grandmother. So anyway, Grace sold it 2 years before to an old man named Duncan McCaffrey, and he ended up dying shortly after that and left the house to his son. And so she writes, to the owner thinking it's this old man, and it's actually the son who is around her age. And his father's like a treasure hunter, and so there's kind of this mystery why his father bought the house and what's going on. Is there treasure here? Like what's the deal? And so they kind of, it is a romance book, but what I liked about this book in particular was it had very real interactions. It wasn't like they met and they were instantly in love. Like the attraction was there, but like she, kind of warns them, I have, they meet. She has this dog that adopted her. He just showed up at her place, and they weren't able to find the owner, so she just keeps him. But he gets out one night and goes up there and is like growling and snarling at Dylan, and so she saves him, but she's like warning him, and he ends up coming down. The power goes out. There's like this huge ice storm. And so it has like little touches like that, but in other romance books, oh, my neighbor, he doesn't have power, he doesn't have a fireplace or anything like that. Like, come on in. And she's like, no, like, I don't know you. Like, there's some wood there if you want to borrow it. And she has a wood stove. Like, there's a wood stove that you can use in that house. But he's just completely clueless about the house. He didn't even know he inherited it or anything like that. He's from California, and there's this big ice storm, like it takes place in New England. And so it's just, I liked how the interactions were. It wasn't like typical romances, and in fact they don't even really get together until the end of the book almost. So well into the book is when they start kind of exploring their romance a little bit more. And so it's just really enjoyable in that aspect, and I absolutely loved it because Olivia and her sister Jess, and particularly their mom, Louise, really struggle with anxiety. Um, and it kind of has to stem from like a PTSD type of anxiety. We don't learn this until the end of the book, but we finally learn, what the deal is, like why they're so anxious. And that's the only part that I didn't like. Like it had really real like situations and interactions and such. And then at the end, that kind of flips. I mean, I can see somebody doing this, but it's not as likely. Like your anxiety just doesn't go away. And so that's the only thing that was like really like that's a little bit more like romancy, like tropey type thing at the end. But overall, like I said, she really had these characters. They were very, very real. I also like that Grace wrote a book, and so the Secrets of the Lost Summer are about Grace's secrets. So she wrote a book, and so she refuses to let anybody read it until the end, or until she's gone. Like she's like, no, um, they're trying to play. They're gonna be knocking into the table. So, Nidra, stop. Come here, Ninis. Come here. So anyways, that way I'm not distracted by puppy playtime. This is Nidra. I think I introduced her in another video. She was up here milling about, but so anyway, so what was I saying? So anyway, yeah, she wrote a book, but she refuses to let anybody read it until she's gone. But there's like little excerpts from the book in the story itself, which I really, really liked. And, so you're kind of going along, you're finding out these mysteries about the house that she lived in, and it takes place on Quabbin Reservoir, which I guess is a real place. She says the town that she created and the characters were all fictional, but she did base it on a place where she grew up. And so you have that whole aspect. So it is a real place. And like all these small towns where Grace grew up, ends up getting converted to, they buy out everybody and convert it into the reservoir, and everybody has to move, and then her family moves to Night Bridge, which is where her house is that Dylan ends up inheriting and such. But I really liked how they included like little pieces from her book and her past, because that's part of the whole of the book. So I thought that was really, really enjoyable. And it's just, I think that added a realness to the characters as well. Because I think, even I'm not that old, but thinking back on some of the things in my past, like I kind of romanticize them a little bit. Like they're kind of built up in my mind more than probably what actually happened, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed, like I said, the characters, and then there's these whole, um, the anxiety, which is really relatable, especially for me, um, and the characters, the way they interact with each other. Like I said, it wasn't as romanticized as romance books often are. Like even with her parents, like they have a solid relationship, but there's something going on there. And then with her sister Jess and her boyfriend, there's issues there, and there's some miscommunication and such. So it's just not as romanticized and fluff as your typical romance book, if that makes sense. But at the same time, it is still like really enjoyable, like your typical romance book would be. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. And then there's kind of a twist at the end that I certainly didn't see coming. I probably should have, but I thought the author kind of distracts you with the whole treasure hunt thing, so you kind of miss, I guess, the other clues. Um, and so it came up in the end and surprised me for sure. I don't know if there was like any foreshadowing that I missed or not. I looking back, like I didn't never saw it coming. But that might not be the case for you. So there's kind of a fun little twist at the end as well. And like I said, just overall a really enjoyable book. It wasn't super in depth, so it was easy to read. You know, there's some books that you really have to use a lot of brain power to read, and this wasn't the case with this one, but it was in depth enough that it really developed the characters and the place for you. And so it's just enjoyable. That's the only word I got to describe it. And so, excuse me, the puppies are battling at my feet, and distracting me. So, and I'm already having a hard enough time with my allergies, so I'm gonna just pick this one up to finish off this video because they're driving me insane. But anyway, the book itself, I would strongly recommend. Like I said, it is one I'm going to be keeping on my shelf. I'm going to reread it if I just need a quick, light read. I found it that enjoyable, and even knowing the twists and such, I don't think it's going to take anything away from the story, especially because it's kind of more reminiscent type story, with Grace's like little bits in there as well. So definitely one I strongly recommend you pick up and give a try. It might not be your cup of tea, but it might. You know, you never know, unless you try it. Again, libraries are a great way to participate. Your library might not have it, but they might, and so you can check it out, see if you like it before you actually buy a copy. You can also do Kindle and audiobooks if you don't mind not having a physical copy. I have to, but that's always an option as well. I'm going to go ahead and leave you here. Don't forget, this week we are going to be reading Four Summoners Tales, and I hope you'll join me for that. And I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Bye, everyone. Happy reading.